Hello and welcome to Sports Talk. My name is Jamie Kepp and I'll be the host for today's show. Our guest today is Andy Cerroni, the head basketball coach for the Hamilton Chargers in Sussex. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How about a little personal background about yourself that you care to share with the viewers?
Boy, I tell you, I'll start with, I grew up in Johnson's Creek.
Okay.
I grew up in Johnson's Creek, and
People are going to be surprised about that watching this show in Watertown.
Yep. I was, went through the all my years in elementary, middle school, high school, and played sports, and just kind of fell in love with the athletic side of it, and went on to college, played college football at Lakeland College for John Tomey, and 4 years there, and got into coaching. I got into coaching pretty young. I started my first coaching gig was when I was a sophomore in high school.
Oh, wow.
I coached the Pee Wee baseball team, and that was something that I really loved, and at that point I knew that's what I wanted to get into, so I went to college to be a teacher and a coach. And then when I was at Lakeland, played 4 years football there, I had an opportunity to be a volunteer assistant my junior and senior year for Tom Desautels at Sheboygan North. And I was more of a football guy, and that was my first experience with coaching basketball. I played basketball in high school, but being in a program of that caliber was eye-opening to me, and coaching with Coach Desautels, who is a legend in the state of Wisconsin as far as basketball goes, and it was an unbelievable experience, and I knew that was the path I wanted to take. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any teaching jobs out of college to stay in his program, and I got my first job at Merton, which is in Heartland.
Okay.
And I first couple of years I taught there. I was a 7th and 8th grade coach, which I loved it. Ran my own program, and then I had an opportunity to be a JV coach at Sussex Hamilton, and I took that job, and I was there for 4 years, and then Arrowhead job opened up, and I applied for that, and that was my first head coaching job, and I was there for 13 years, and was out of coaching for 1 year, and then I got the job at Sussex, and I've been there ever since.
Wow, what a story, especially from playing football in college to coaching hoops.
Yep, that was a change. I mean, a big contrast, I should say. But like I said, my experience with Coach Desautels was was the key. I mean, to this day, he's my mentor, and he's my person that I call on a daily basis. I mean, on a weekly basis. We talk quite often, and he's just been great for me throughout my whole career, and still is. And as you know, like I said, he's done it all. I mean, he's won state titles.
Oh, incredible career.
Yeah,
and you're almost showing your age a little bit from a youthful standpoint, because the first stories I hear about Tom Desautels are at the Endress Park in on Locust there on 80.
We used to bring some of our kids, players there when I was at Brian Gilmore. I mean, he was down there. I mean, we had a lot of kids that went there and played on the Saturday mornings, and I remember I would take my kids with me on Saturday mornings and take them, put them in the stroller and go and watch the guys play. I mean, great players played there. Jeff Wolf from Kohler, Tony Bennett came and played, and I mean, some great basketball. And that was so different, because you don't see it anymore.
No, you sure don't. He had such a nucleus of people in that generation, and from like Paul Sherry to Ray Rozek, to Clyde Rusk, and whomever else that would be in the Endress Park area, and they were it was wonderful. It was exciting, and it was good.
It was great. I mean, it was great. Kids played, and it was, just sat back and watched them, and that was you don't see that many great players get together and just play, and just for without officials, and just go out and play.
Right, because now it tends to be that more someone will have a video or who can outdo who or something, versus just you phrase it well, just play. So as you're going through Johnson Creek, were you an athlete that just played one sport, or
no?
Did you play everything?
We were a small school, and it was we went with the season. I mean, it was fall was football, and then then it was basketball, then it was baseball, and it was just whatever sport it was, whatever sport was in, is the sport that we played. I mean, there was not much specializing, or there wasn't that much of an off season like there is now with AAU and all these other sports that just kind of go year round. So we moved with the season, and we had a great nucleus of guys that that loved athletics, and we just went from sport to sport to sport. So
When I talk to people, and I'd say the cutoff is about 30 to 35 of an age, where when I ask the question of like, what was your favorite sport? Like I answer without hesitation, whatever season it was.
Yeah,
and
right,
then you get people that are a little on the younger side, and then there's like a quick answer of this sport, because it's so much specialization that you would have played maybe maximum 2 sports, but
Right.
you probably played 1.
Exactly. I mean, and from a parent standpoint, I mean, it's almost undoable to play 2 sports and do the extra stuff that you probably have to do in order you want to be that get to that next level, unless you're really gifted. But the time and money that people put into these single sports,
It's nuts.
it's
And even
crazy.
if they're not the top tier, I mean, it used to be the AAU. We're going to sound like old curmudgeons here, but the AAU was the actual elite of the elite to travel and play. And now it's every darn AAU program has the word elite in it.
Exactly.
And they've got 3 or 4 teams.
The year I was out of coaching between Arrowhead and Sussex, I was able to be on staff with George Carl's Friends of Hoop program, and at that time, it was like that. You needed to be good, elite,
Really
to
good,
play.
yeah.
And there weren't a lot of tournaments, and I mean we were traveling, North Carolina, Vegas. We were going to all these places with a quality team, and you met quality teams. Now there's tournaments in every town, every weekend, everywhere you
Sure
can
are.
go, and so that was a big change. I mean, now that's you hate to say watered down, but it is.
It is, and it's a lot of parents living through various dreams of kids, or their dreams, or living through them too, instead of just participating,
And-
competing.
And I think there's a lot of people out there, in the AAU scene that are, holding these tournaments and profiting from it, because it's people are willing to pay it.
Oh, they sure are. I think back 100 years ago when I had Jose Winston in grade school, way back when, and various AAU programs would have come into play, and I probably could have made legally $100,000 in a matter back then in the 80s or whatever that was, for probably, I don't know, 9 weeks.
Yeah. I mean,
But it's a little even though it's legal, I was in the unethical area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when I was doing with George, I was just a coach, because he wanted, when he ran his program, he wanted high school coaches to coach his teams that he had, and I was out of coaching that year, and I knew one of his guys that ran his foundation, which is Friends of Hoop Foundation, and he knew of me, and called me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and it was a great experience. I mean, traveling
It's
traveling
eye-opening.
around. Oh yeah, it was great players, great, everybody that like I said, all the games that you'd play were, you'd see some superstars playing. Matter of fact, when LeBron was a sophomore, we were in a tournament where he was playing up with seniors. That was the first day we got to see him, and Ernie Grunfeld was in the stands, and I remember he was talking with us and saying, "That kid will be in the NBA in 2 years," and he was right.
Right, he sure was.
He was right.
Now
Absolutely.
looking back, he wasn't
Absolutely.
taking the biggest leap of faith to make that prediction, but
Yeah,
you
but
don't
I
know
mean,
at the time.
But at that time, I mean, it was unbelievable, and I didn't know him from Adam, and
Right.
he was here. They knew him as a sophomore in high school, so that was a neat thing.
You're probably a perfect fit to be a high school coach and be humble, be grounded, and then be brought in, because without any ulterior motive type thing too.
Yeah,
It's probably a
absolutely.
good fit.
Yeah, it was great, and like I said, I loved it, and it was a great experience for me, and I think it, like I said, I think it helped me mature as a coach.
Well, yeah. So think back to the kids you grew up with, and you'd fast forward to being a high school head basketball coach. Would anybody have been surprised that the selection was basketball, based on experience or success or mannerisms or anything?
Well, I think just the fact that I played college football.
Right.
You know, who would have thought that I was going to be a basketball coach, and so I don't know if they're, 'cause I don't know if they'd be surprised or not, but it was always something I wanted to be, and and I knew that, like I said, starting from my sophomore year in high school, and so I just knew I wanted to coach, and like I said, my experience with Coach Desautels was, just opened the door for me, and that's why I picked it. Going into college, I don't think basketball was even on my radar.
Right.
I really don't think so. I mean, I think it was all football, because that's what we had some success when I was in high school. Playing football, played for Coach Guerin and Coach Liedman and Coach Brockert. I mean, all those guys were just very instrumental and influential to me. And I thought that might have been the path I would have taken.
Right.
But then it's just is how things work out.
Oh, you just never know. So as you go on, and maybe we'll focus just a little bit on the Hamilton area. Sometimes people get confused if we don't say Sussex, so we got to specify that Sussex word in there. Otherwise people might mistaken you for Jim Jones and vice versa.
You know what? When Looney played for Hamilton, you wouldn't believe how much mail I got from for Kwan Looney, because Hamilton High School. So I mean, I would have to put it in an envelope and send it back, but unbelievable amount. And it was funny because the Duke staff came to watch Patrick in the spring last year, and they were supposed to be there at 5 o'clock, and they weren't there. And I called Coach
They're on the
Schneider,
south
and
side
I'm
of
like,
Milwaukee.
Coach, I said, hey, are you guys lost? He goes, hey, we're walking the halls. Where are you guys? So they were at the wrong place. So it happens quite a bit.
I bet it does. I bet it does. Okay, so you're at Sussex, and how were the programs during the couple of years prior, and then early on in your career?
At Hamilton?
At Hamilton.
At Hamilton, I mean, when I got there, I mean, it was there was no youth program. There was we lived in the district, and the first time kids started playing basketball was in 6th grade.
Okay.
So I remember I got the job. It was the year that I was with Coach Carl's coaching, and I remember the flight from from Milwaukee to Las Vegas. We were going in July, because I got it later in the summer, and I sat there, and that was my whole flight, laying out how I wanted to start a youth program. And at that time, Mike Goz was who's our AD, was also the girls coach, and so I proposed this to him, where we were going to start a youth program. We were going to start them in 3rd grade, and start getting these kids playing basketball. And since then, I mean, we have gone from kids not playing until they were in 6th grade. Now we have 1st and 2nd grade leagues. We have a Saturday program that we have over 120 boys that are playing in that, and the girls have their separate program. We have a junior charger program now, where we have starting 3rd grade, which is a higher level basketball, where they're actually playing, traveling and playing. Those teams, we have 2 at every level. We have some teams at some levels that have 3, and the 4th grade has 4 teams, which is 10 on a team. And we still have our youth league, which is just our district. And it's once, they play every Saturday, and it's everybody plays equal time. So we have a lot of options for our kids just to play. If they want to play, the next step where they want to play, be a little more competitive and put more time in, or if you just want to play on Saturday mornings for an hour and practice once a week, we have that too. So we've kind of solid base where we have a lot of kids playing and the experience. And it's, I'll be honest with you, I mean, when I first got there, I mean, we were looking at the bottom. I mean, we had, Brookfield Central. We had Brookfield Central, Marquette, Tulsa East. I mean, we'd go in there. I mean, we couldn't compete with them. I mean, we'd go there, come back. Freshmen got beat by 30, JV and varsity. I mean, it was like we needed to get skills players, and we needed to do it. And I'll be honest with you, there's times I'd come home and think, is this ever going to happen? And and as time goes on, we've certainly built a foundation where we have a lot of kids playing, and we can compete now. I mean, we can compete in our conference, and we won a couple conference championships, the last couple of years, and and have a chance to be pretty good this year too.
You sure do. Once again, our guest, Andy Cerroni, he's the head basketball coach for the Hamilton Chargers in Sussex. When you think about the success at the high school level, and it goes back to the youth piece, one of the things I was catching you saying is everyone having an opportunity, depending on how serious they're about it, or what level of commitment, and that has to help with not eliminating, but preventing and dealing with burnout.
Yeah,
as well.
And that's it. And honestly, as high school coaches, we've created a monster. I think you would agree.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, you got to go. I mean, think about it. We had tryouts for our junior Chargers, and they start practice next week, and they go till end of April-ish.
Right. So as we're taping the show right now, for the people watching, we're in early October.
We're in early October right now,
into April.
So they start,
which
practices
is longer than the high school season.
Exactly. And you can't, like I said, but you have to do it because that's what everybody's doing. And then they got the state tournaments and those kind of things. So I worry about that. I really do. And that's that's something. But and that's what AAU is for. If we have kids that are really, they have options for them to do, and yet in our program, you aren't gonna, you don't want to pigeonhole kids where they are when third grade.
Right.
And I really try not to do that. And I just want them out there to enjoy the experience. And we have great people that are in our program as far as youth coaches, great people. And we want them to make it a great experience. It's not about wins and losses. It's about getting them out there playing, having fun, being a great teammate, learn some leadership skills, learn how to be good, learn how to win, learn how to lose. I mean, that's it. And give them as many experiences as they can. But I'm not a one sport guy. I encourage our kids to play other sports, and we do have multi-sport athletes. And some of our key players in many of our seasons were kids that were not basketball first. I mean, they were football guys, soccer guys, and you just like that. That athlete that competes in different areas sometimes.
That's that big word. Instead of going in the weight room where no one is and just competing.
Yep.
As much as anything. So I think of on the outside looking, and I look back now, and I think of the importance of those kids that are playing, whether 7th, 8th, 9th grade, whatever the case may be, that don't give up, that become those all-important role players, that maybe they don't win every game for you, but they don't have a drop-off, or they kind of hold their own when they're in with a variety of substitutions. And there's nothing as important as that depth piece.
Absolutely, and not only from the game stuff, but even in practice.
Yeah,
I mean, think of they come in and they compete, and and they feel a part of it, and that's that is so important. And you look at teams that make it to the state tournament, state championships, state champs, or they have that. I mean they have that buy-in from 1 through 15, whatever number they have, and that's that. And as a coach, I think that is, when I look at it, as wins and losses, I look at my team and I say, was everybody on the same page at the end of the season when it was over? I mean, that's my job, to make them feel so important to the team. And I really, because your first 5, 6 guys, they're always going to be playing. They get the minutes, but it's those other guys. How do they feel important? And we as a staff, we really talk a lot about that, just because they're so valuable.
Well, it's a culture piece, and it's the cultivating of the relationship where there's trust, and they just feel that there's a usefulness level to them, and not just a practice player that's disregarded.
And even like I said, the playing time and those kind of things are really important. But just the fact that they're working for a purpose, and sometimes that purpose is for someone else to have success. And boy, think of those. Think of that as far as going into the next level. Next step in your life. I mean, in a job, you're not always working for, you're working for other people.
You sure are.
And so that's what I try to tell them. I said, just a small piece of what you're going to be, and how you handle it, and how you take what you learn from being on a team and apply that to, your job, your career, what you're going to be. And so that's, that's really important.
We talk so much, and people say, the word adversity just draws every cliche and everything imaginable with it. And years ago, I would just say, I don't think when they talk about building character and anything of that stuff, I'd say, oh, poppycock. I just think when there's adversity, it just shows your character, reveals it.
It
It's
does.
easy when things are great, and but when something's goes bad for you or bad for your team and that response, and I think it's adults too. I look at all the time with our coaches now as adults. I look at colleagues and teachers. It's easy to go when it's good, but when it hits the fan and it's just junky. And we're supposed to be a little more mature from 30, 40, 50, 60, and now you look at this 15 to 18-year-old,
Right.
and if there's not a modeling that goes on, it's not going to be there.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And like I said, and this day and age, I hate to say it, it's tougher being a 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old now than it was.
Oh,
many
more than
years ago.
anything. It
I
sure
tell
is.
you, I really believe that, and I mean what they have to endure, and and what's out there is it's scary, and it's real too.
It sure is. When you think about your career and you're in the midst of it, so you're not in any type of a reflection stage of number of conference championships, wins, or team accolades, or wins, or something like that. You have to be proud of where the Sussex program has come from when you took over, and now you'll say that you were on the airplane to Vegas, and when the big group with George Karls to now. When you take a deep breath, you have to recognize some of those positives too to kind of keep your own drive going.
Absolutely, but like I said, along the way, I've had some great assistants. I've had great people and I had.
It's not a lone show by any means.
And in my family, like I said, for me. I mean, honestly, it's been a whole family thing because you've been in it. If your family, if your wife's not on board and your kids aren't on board, it would make it really difficult. And I, like I said, my wife has been unbelievable through this whole journey since. And believe me, we had some lean years. I mean, I'm telling you, 3 wins, 4 wins, and
understandable, right?
And that's why I told you. Some nights I went home and said, I don't know if I'll ever get this thing turned around. And so you have those kind of support systems. But I've had great assistants also. My kids have been, my son, both my daughters, and I mean, our games are on Friday night now is a family affair. I mean, my grandkids come and they just love being around it, and they sitting behind, and I always love them being there because they don't care win or lose after a game.
Right.
They still give me a hug.
Absolutely, they
They
sure
give me
do.
a hug. So, but it's like I said, looking back on it, I have so many people that were a part of this whole thing. It wasn't just me, believe me. I mean, it was so many people put a lot of hard work into it and stayed the course.
You think of when you started this venture, you use the word journey. I think of both of my kids learning how to walk in a walker on wheels, one of them at Cardinals Church and one of them at Juneau.
Absolutely.
So that I lived those
Sure,
where you'd close
sure.
half the gym and they'd learn how to walk, and you'd work on something else at the end of practice afterwards, and whatever sacrifices, and on the side or something. I mean, we certainly lived that though. But there's also that piece that they see as grandkids, yes, they would be huggy anyway. As kids, they also see the change of their dad, the family when things are good, when things aren't so good. But that's part of the reward now is you probably wouldn't enjoy it and feel as good about it if you didn't have those struggles either.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's part of it, and I think it's like I said, it makes it, being able to deal with that adversity and those kind of things. I mean, what better way to prepare you for the real life? And I agree with you 100%. And that's and like I said, we certainly are appreciative of everything that's happening now. But we that it can go back to how it was pretty quick. So you got to keep keep the nose to the grindstone.
Right, you sure do. And I'm thinking about the people watching the show that they might remember you from the name from Johnson Creek, but really haven't followed obviously the basketball with Hamilton, and unless they saw it at the state tournament or various things. But you're on an incredible multi-year great role. It's not a one year wonder or a 2 or just. I mean, you've progressed up to this point where there's role players, and there's a star and 2 and different things, but there's also those pieces that are in play, and managing those egos, and managing just the individual successes that people want can't be ignored either.
We've like I said, we have some great kids. I mean, I'm telling you, we had, for the last 3 years, I mean, we've had some great success winning wise, but I'm telling you right now, the kids have really bought into being unselfish. I mean, we have, Patrick Baldwin. I mean, Patrick Baldwin could average 30 points a game. There is no doubt about it. But he knows for him to do that might not be best for the team. And you know, he's such a unselfish player, and he makes everybody around him better. And you know, and we have some, we have Lucas Finnessy, who's going to be, he's going to Minnesota, play football at Minnesota, and he's just a tough-nosed competitor and does whatever we need him to do to win. I mean, if that means covering a 6'8" kid or a point guard, I mean, he's got that capability. And you know, we got guys that really love to share the ball and can shoot the ball, and you know, those guys have come up through the program, and you know, like I said, it's we have had, you know, we've been blessed, and we've got some pretty good young kids coming up below them, and we're just hoping to keep it going. But like I said, it goes back to the work that our youth coaches do, and you know, the time that they put in. So it's we're enjoying it. I mean, we are enjoying it, but we know that we have a target on it. This is new for me, Coach. I mean, when I was there, I mean, it was
there's no underdog role now.
No, I mean, we got the target on, but we know that you know, from last year, I mean, we know that we're getting everybody's best. I mean, everybody's best, and they're coming out, and the gyms are empty until Hamilton comes, and all of a sudden everybody comes out because they want to see, you know, Patrick Baldwin and those guys, and all of a sudden their kids are energized, and they're not gonna, you know, they're not gonna roll over, and you know, so we have to have the right mindset, and we've worked on that. We've talked about it, and we've prepared the way that you know, we need to prepare to be a champion, and we talk about that all the time.
You know, years ago it would have been kind of ignoring those pieces and saying just focus on this right here, but now I think times have changed where you have those conversations and you realize, hey, you're getting their best shot, and you know what, we've got to just get through that first 6 minutes of the first quarter and get through some of their adrenaline, and let's stay the course.
Well, you know,
if they do something initially.
You know, and from experience, I was on the other end. I mean, we're going into Tulsa. We're playing against Jerry Smith. We're playing against Joe Thomas. We're playing against, you know, all these teams that are unbelievable. And I mean, you're jacked. We're being a motivator and trying to do it. And honestly, I mean, I remember going to Brookfield Central one of my first years with Joe Thomas and Luke Holman, and we go there. They score 36 points in the first quarter. They don't have an empty possession. They score on every possession in the first. Every time they had the ball, we're down 36-2 or something. I mean, it was ridiculous. Come to our place, I mean, it's a one possession ball game with 2 minutes left. I mean, they weren't afraid of us. Right. And, you know, but you know how this game goes. I mean, you just got to be able to, you know, so from being at that end, I can talk to my kids and say, I've been there before. And I know if you guys take these guys lightly, you know, anything can happen. And you know, that's why basketball is such an unbelievable game, because, you know, that can happen on any given night.
Oh, it's incredible. You sure have a good run. Once again, our guest, Andy Cerroni, he's the head basketball coach for the Sussex Hamilton Chargers. Had an incredible amount of success. He's on a great roll, and he's a wonderful, wonderful person. I call him I would say a long-time, lifetime friend, at least the last 20 years. Certainly happy to have him on the show. This concludes another edition of Sports Talk. Until next time, keep talking sports. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you very much for having me.